I'm not sure we need to talk much about the third quarter. It's been a terrible quarter. I'm not sure people saw it coming that will get this bad. But looking ahead now into the fourth quarter, generally, what are your expectations?
We have a positive view on the index. We see about 13, at least 15% upside. And that is backed up by fundamentals. But these uncertainties aren't removed. They're still around.
Right.
But as we go towards the elections next year, I think that people will begin to focus on 2011. And if you look at the sectoral drivers, whether it's banks or consumer stocks, things are actually more positive than they were, let's say, in 2009. So you don't have an NPL crisis anymore, and the consumer drivers in terms of unit growth are still there. So we have a positive view, definitely.
Yeah, well, I mean, some people will argue that, I mean, the third quarter, bank earnings were a bit positive. We didn't see much of a reaction. We saw the NSE index down 9% this third quarter. So the perception is not likely to change, in my view. And you are bullish. 15%, I think, is very strong. What's going to be the catalyst?
I mean, I have to say we had to revise down our target for the year for the index recently, just to be in line with reality. However, I don't want people to focus too much on the short term. Yes, Q4, if it rallies, you don't want to miss out. But if you had bought quality names at the start of this year, whether it's an Access or Sky, a UAC, a Guinness, or GTB, I think you'll be up this year, and you would have actually outperformed the index. So the 15% is something we can back up on paper, but I would encourage people to look beyond those 3 months, regardless of whether Q3 results or Q4 results actually look as best as people are expecting them to look.
But again, I ask you again, what is going to be the catalyst? Because yes, indeed, we know that the banking crisis, we've seen the worst of that. Yeah. But in the third quarter, like I say again, we were down 9%. So what's going to change sentiment going into the fourth quarter? Is it the expectation of 2011 in general, or what?
I think if there are reversals of some of the things that led to uncertainties in Q3. So if you get more data on AMCON, it's been really silent on the part of the regulator in terms of how AMCON actually is going to work over the last month or so. So if we get a bit more clarity on that one, if the politics, if it looks like we have a clear winner the investors or the market favors, then that would also help. And thirdly, these bank results should improve over the Q2 results or the Q1 results. And at some point, I know the local investors in Nigeria love the dividends. Those factors will combine to lead people to become more positive about the outlook in general.
And of course, we know money market yields are very low right now. So who knows? Maybe you might be right on that point. But let's look at asset allocation. Obviously, with your expectations, where should people be putting their money? Which sectors in particular?
We generally don't like telling people that because something is falling so much, they should put their money into it. But for the first time, I think we have to concede on that regarding the banks. As I said before, the stocks we backed at the start of the year, like Access and Sky, have done pretty well. But there are some stocks that are falling a lot in the banking sector, even though there hasn't been a massive deterioration in quality or fundamentals. So we still think that the banking sector, which is down 10% or so this year, is where people should look at first. I'm not saying that the last 3-day rally that we've seen is the start of a major recovery. I don't know. But we have a medium to longer term view on these things. And if you'd bought some of these stocks in Q4 last year when people were projecting a doomsday scenario, you'd be up this year. So I would encourage people to not worry too much about, first of all, the consumer stocks, because they're doing well and they're drivers that should continue to support them. But I'll put my money in the banks in the short term.
So any particular topics you want to name, and what's the investment case for these ones?
We still like Access, Sky, Fidelity and Diamond. Now, I think one thing that's come out in the last few quarters is that the bigger banks have done pretty well in terms of coming out of the crisis. The smaller banks have been slower. However, if you look on a sort of second derivatives in terms of acceleration, the smaller banks seem to have that momentum behind them. So I would expect you to see more improvements in their numbers than the bigger banks. So as I said, in terms of valuation, whether it's Access, Sky, Fidelity or Diamond, there are significant upside to 2011 December outlook. So that's where I'll be pushing. In terms of quality, it's still